And we are live. Sorry for that funny little delay there. Whoops. My phone decided not to have the video start. Anyways, here we are. Back again, opening toys. I am Adam. This is Open Late, and tonight I will be opening the Star Wars Black Series Holocomm collection, The Mandalorian. Now, I love translucent figures. I especially love translucent figures when they make sense. And I think the Holocomm collection, I mean, I feel like the reaction to the Holocomm collection was that it was like silly and it was just a cash grab or whatever by Hasbro or by Star Wars, by whatever. I think, the sort of bounty puck, what do they call it? They have a name for it. Where is it? The holopuck with the bounty chip attached to it. Like I genuinely think that this is actually a really clever idea. I'm surprised that they haven't really done something like this earlier. um there's bounty hunters, there's people with bounties on them, in Star Wars, and this is what we've seen in Star Wars, where we've seen holopucks and we've seen bounties and all that kind of stuff. So to me, this was kind of a no-brainer. And so to do a translucent sort of hologram holopuck figure like this, I think is actually really, really clever. um whether these will be sort of peg warmers and like on clearance everywhere in the future remains to be seen. I suspect that they probably will be, but for me, this was something that I really was quite excited to get. I'll be perfectly honest. I think this is a cool idea, and this was a figure that I was happy to pay for. It may become like my nightlight or something. I will see how the hollow puck works and stuff like that. You need 3 AAA batteries, which is a bit of a bummer for what it really is. But I've got my batteries ready to put into the hollow puck once I get this thing out of the box. Um, First of all, though, we will take a look at the packaging. Um, so, pretty standard Black Series packaging, more or less. I say more or less. I got a figure that's a similar size. So that's a normal package this same size. So it's the same size as like the more deluxe figures. Everything's pretty much the same. The Holocomm collection logo is a little bit different, but it does have this sort of like there's a couple things that are different, right? So that's the standard. On the side it's a little bit different. On the back it's a little bit different because it doesn't have the art. It has that. But let's take a look. I may open this later, depending on how long this takes, and sort of how that goes. But we get this sort of hologram, Holocomm kind of look to the packaging, which I think is pretty cool. As I said, it says Holocomm collection. It has the little light up there. The art, if you will, on the side is sort of a Holocomm type of hologram look, but it's also embossed. I don't know if it's gonna, I don't know if you're gonna be able to see it, but the box is got this thing embossed. Well, you can kind of see it when it hits the light just right. That there's actually some texture there, a little bit of elevation. It's not just a flat picture. On the box, of course, we get the full figure on the hollow puck, just to sort of let you know what you're getting in here. It's not just a figure. You're also getting the hollow puck that lights up and will sort of light up the figure. Hopefully, we will see. That's something that I'm very, very curious about. How effective is the light up function? Now, I'm pretty excited to get a translucent Mandalorian, regardless of how well that light up function works. But it'll definitely be a bonus if that thing lights up properly in the hologram. You know, it gets that proper sort of hologram looking effect. So without further ado, let's get this guy out of the box. And I will do that as quickly as I can. Now the window is now maybe I don't open enough Black Series figures. Is the window normally on here or on the? But anyway, it doesn't matter. I don't keep the boxes, so that's out into the recycling. You get the legalese thing, and then you get instructions, which is not something that you typically get with Black Series figures, unless it's, you know, a vehicle or something has to be put together or what have you. So I assume this is just going to tell me, you know, how to put batteries in, how to put the little bounty card on, and yeah, nothing nothing terribly special or effectively interesting about that. So that is going to go in the recycling. There is the Holopuck. Now, right off the bat, I noticed something. It actually, like, there's actually, what is it? There's 3 letters in there, but I don't know what they are because I don't know. What is it? Arabesh, whatever the Star Wars language is. There are actually letters printed in there. So that's interesting. I'm gonna have to look up what those say. If you know what that says, you know, let me know in the comments. I will have to figure it out for myself. We get more legalese. We get 2 of these in there. All right, so let's get this guy out of the packaging. I'll do it as quickly as I can. Change the angle on the camera. And then get the batteries in the Holopuck. So all kinds of fun things to look forward to. Now, I'm pretty sure this is just the most recent Mandalorian figure sculpt that we've seen. I don't think that they've, you know, done a new sculpt for this. I don't know if I have this sculpt or not. Like, this might be the newest one. He seems a little more slender than the one that I've got, but I don't know. I don't know. But he's got a weird thing going on with his leg. I just want to get his feet not looking so odd. The plastic itself, it feels, I don't know, there's something different about this plastic. I mean, it's translucent plastic, obviously. So it's going to be a different plastic than the typical figures. And it feels like just the actual feel of it. It feels different. It feels softer, maybe. I'm not entirely sure how to describe it, but it has a different feel. All right, let me tighten up this camera angle. Hold on one sec. I got to figure out a different way to get my camera set up so that I don't have to do that every single time. Anyways, what's going on, Jeremy? How's it going, my friend? Jeremy says looks neat. It is neat. I mean, I'm happy to have this figure. This is surprisingly straight. I'll be perfectly honest. Most Hasbro weapons this long are not nearly this straight. It's a little bit bowed, you know, in this axis, but in this axis, it's pretty straight. So I'm pretty happy with that. The backpack is just a big clear chunk of plastic. the interesting thing about the translucent figures is that I don't think they change any of the engineering. So my complaint with Hasbro's translucent figures that you end up seeing all the joints and all the places where their things are pinned together and stuff. And the backpack is a good example of that. You see these two like pins right here? That's going to be like where the two pieces are pinned together. It would have been nice if they could sort of manage to get rid of some of that stuff, but I understand why they wouldn't. I mean, they're just reusing a mold to create more figures. I just love translucent figures. I love translucent. Now that one's crooked, but like, how does that work? The small one's crooked. Doesn't matter. It's gonna go in the holster anyway, and it's never gonna come out because this is a display figure. If I've ever seen one. Then we get the little bounty card. So this one, I looked this up as soon as they came out. I'm 99% sure this says wanted, and then it has a bounty of 20,000 credits. So that's cool. I don't think he has the biggest bounty, which is to me a little bit weird. And now I need a tiny screwdriver for this. Hold on. Should have grabbed a tiny screwdriver earlier. For whatever reason, I didn't think I would need one. All right, so we get the Holocomm, but we do need to put batteries in it. Which I'm going to do, which is going to be probably the most boring thing I've ever done on a live stream, is take the back cover off and put batteries in. This definitely would have made for a much better pre-recorded video, now that I think of it. But too bad, suckers. You're here now watching it. I may edit this section out if I feel so inclined later. Because this is not good viewing. Okay, so like I said, it's, you know, there's some letters on there. I don't know what it says. But this is going to go on. This is going to plug in. This is meant to plug in right at the front. Doesn't stay in very well. I'll show you why. It's this tiny, tiny little peg to peg in. I don't know why that's not longer or keyed or square or something, you know, like it does seem, that's a bit of a bummer. I think I'm gonna get this guy all kitted out and geared up so that once I do get him on there, I don't have to ever touch him again. Because like I said, this is like, you know, most of my figures get played with, right? Most of my figures are toys first. And this is definitely going to be one of those exceptions because I already have a Mandalorian. And this guy, what's going on here? Is this meant to go there? Whatever. And this guy is, okay, what? Do I have to line these up? Am I supposed to line these up? Yes, I am. All right, so you're supposed to line up this back. I'm pretty sure this is a new sculpt. I'm pretty sure this is not the same as the Mandalorian that I currently have in my collection. I have maybe 2 Mandalorians in my collection already. But I don't remember the backpack being this particular to sort of get on the figure. How in the heck? All right, no backpack it is. I just don't see how that fits. I think it's like one or the other. I think you either do the cape or the back. I don't know. I'll take a look at it. I'll take a closer look at it later. Because like I said, it'd be boring to just have me mess around with that for the next 10 minutes. Okay. Get this guy on the puck there. Oh, now he's not in frame again. Shoot. Okay, hold on. Oh, this is the worst. Oh, well, who cares? Glad to have you guys along. We need clear holocron Cobra Vipers. That would be cool. That would be cool, like, to see, like, G.I. Joe and Cobra versions of these, assuming this thing works well enough that it would justify that. Oh, that's kind of cool, actually. It's not like a solid light. And when you turn it on, it kind of fires up. And when you turn it off, it kind of powers down. So what I'm going to do, because I think that's going to be the only way to sort of know whether this actually works very well or not, I'm going to turn off some lights. Which, again, I should have thought of earlier, but... All right. Let's see how this goes, shall we? I'm going to turn off one light. I'm going to turn off the other light. And then I'm going to turn on the Holopuck. If I can find it in the dark. So you can see that there's sort of like a flicker. Like it's not a solid light. And I mean, it doesn't work, but it does. Oh, and it turns itself off? What? You got to turn it back on? Okay, that's not going to be a very good night light. But it is pretty cool. Like you could see the flickering light, like now does it give a full sort of like hologram effect? Not really. But it is pretty cool. I'm gonna say that it's like an A for effort, because it is pretty cool. It really is. I think the thought, it's the thought that counts, right? And the thought here was that this is something a little bit different. This is something fun. And I think they for what it is, I think they nailed it. And I'm not going to get the whole collection of these by any stretch, but having one of these in my collection is definitely cool. I mean, I think if there's if there's one of these that sort of speaks to you, grab one. They're cool. Like I said, the Holopuck thing is cool. It's not perfect. The translucency of the figure isn't perfect, so the light doesn't sort of pass through the whole thing. They could have done that a little bit better. Now, if it was sort of like a statue, as well, they might have been able to sort of do that a little bit better, because the light would have sort of passed through the figure a little bit better. They could have engineered that in. But altogether, I mean, it's pretty cool, and it sort of does what I expected it to do. It's nothing crazy, but it is what it is. All right. So that is the Holocomm Mandalorian. Now, as I said, I've got these guys that I've never opened. Should I open them? Do you guys is anybody interested in me opening these? Or should I just call it a night and open these at my leisure? Let me know one way or the other. If nobody lets me know one way or the other, I will just call it a night. And actually, And by call it a night, I mean I'll wrap up this video and go and open. I got some other things that I need to unbox and do videos for tonight as well. But Jeremy says open fat. Okay, all right, I'll stick around. I got like I said, I got time. All right, so I also had let's move this guy off to the side. This guy, it's I mean it's cool, but it's like you know, what do you do with it, right? It's just a display. It's a display figure at some point. A really cool display figure, mind you, but still. All right, so throne room version of Boba Fett. Let's get this guy out of the box. I'm not going to talk about the box. I'm not really going to talk much about it. I'll just get him out of the box and I'll talk about it from there. I don't know how long I sat on this thing. I bought this. This is a day one purchase. Like I didn't just buy this on a clearance or something like that. This is a figure that I wanted and want, and I'm excited for. But my Black Series shelf is already at maximum capacity. As it is a shelf that actually my entire Black Series collection plus my entire no, that's not true. Plus my entire displayed collection of Transformers are on the same shelf. Because I don't really prioritize either of those. I have a passing interest in Transformers. I love Star Wars. But as a kid, for whatever reason, Star Wars was not Star Wars has never been something that I've collected the toys for, which is crazy because it's such a massive toy line, and it has been for decades. But for whatever reason, it was always about the movies, and to a lesser extent the comic books, and the books. Oh, come on. There we go. For me, okay, so here's this is the weird thing about how I view Star Wars. As far as why I don't, collect Black Series or Vintage Collection or whatever series of figures or toys or whatever. I always played with my toys. And I always like my toys to sort of get out into the world, out into environments. And with Star Wars, I kind of I've got a weird thing where I don't live in a geographic area that reminds me of Star Wars, at least any Star Wars that I've seen. And so it always felt like, Star Wars, that whole thing of like a galaxy far, far away. I never wanted to play with Star Wars toys in my backyard, if that makes sense. I wanted to play with G.I. Joes in my backyard. I wanted to play with, Marvel, the Toy Biz Marvel figures in my backyard. Even Transformers, Dragon Ball, whatever. But for whatever reason, Star Wars toys always felt like they needed to be sort of in universe, and I always sort of struggled with them being in universe, if that makes sense. I know that it doesn't make sense, like in like realistic terms, but it's sort of like the closest thing that like my geographic location would sort of give me is like Tatooine for most of like the spring, summer, and fall, and then Hoth in the winter. But both of those locations are pretty boring. I always I was drawn to Endor, and I was drawn to like some of the more exotic things. You know, Tatooine didn't feel exotic to me because I live in an area that's semi-desert, and Hoth didn't feel that foreign to me either because it's like we get snow and yeah, exactly, Canadian winter. So it's like whatever. Now though, you know, with like extreme sets and dios and different things like that, Star Wars makes more sense. So I sort of got I'm like more into Star Wars toys now than I ever was. And Allison Troy has joined us. So what's going on, Allison? I know that you are into Star Wars toys, so you clearly don't suffer the same crippling condition that I do. Jeremy says I had a lot of Power of the Force 2 stuff, but that was when G.I. Joe was dead. Yeah, that's true. I don't even know. Like, this is the other thing for me as a toy collector. I don't know any of the history of anything. So when you say Power of the Force 2, I don't know what the difference is between Power of the Force and Power of the Force 2. I had a bunch of those figures in like the 90s. Is that when they came out? When they were like really top heavy? I had a bunch of those. I don't know what series that is though. Those were fun. Boba Fett was my first love in Star Wars as a kiddo. Boba Fett, like mysterious Boba Fett, like Empire Strikes Back, and then like Return of the Jedi Boba Fett were great. This one appealed to me because this guy, like, I just kind of like the design. I like that they made sort of like old man Boba Fett. Looking at the figure, he's got some weird like tampo on his face. So this is like mid back to tank, but I kind of like the puffy pants. I like that he's in this sort of dark brown. I thought it was black, but it's like a dark brown. Um, he's a little, you know, he's a little healthier. He's a little thicker than Boba Fett. You know, that we sort of knew and love in the original trilogy, and that's okay. You know, that happens. People get older; they put on a couple pounds. There's not a lot you can do about that. I mean, you know, he's taken over as you know the uh, the hut or whatever, right? So what can you do? You get a little complacent. You put on a few pounds. Um, that's what happens, you know. Allison Troy says never had that problem. I used my dad's old stereos and computer junk to build up my Death Star and Java playsets. That's a man. Yeah, I never thought of stuff like that. And when we lived in Louisiana, our backyard was Dagobah. Yeah, I wish my backyard was Dagobah. My backyard was like Naboo at the best. Like I just yeah, I didn't get the locations that I wanted, so I didn't get the toys. Whose stream just ended? What the heck's going on? Did Gotham City Tonight just end or something? What's going on, Brick? He says you found one. I just ordered it from Hasbro Pulse. I didn't want it. I couldn't wait. And Master Versal Toy Hunter is here as well. So what's going on, guys? For anybody that missed, the Holocomm Mandalorian is pretty cool. For what it is, it's not perfect, but it's fun and it will make for a great display piece. The little light flickers, it's kind of cool. The figure is just, I think, the newest Mandalorian. And if you're into translucent figures, I'd say grab one of these Holocomm figures. They're fun. Uh, Brick says you need to bring Ewok and AWOK figures to Capilano. Amazing picks. Yeah, that I would definitely do. And I would, the next time I go to Vancouver, I'm definitely going to take some of that stuff and go visit my buddy Jay, who lives in North Vancouver, which is sort of Capilano area. And they definitely have an Endor vibe for sure. Brick says, I don't know what stream ended. I was watching TV with the kiddos. Fair enough. Anyways, this guy, Boba Fett. So you know they put the articulation in the pants, which is like kind of funny because then you break up the sculpt. It's not awful. What they do well is that they put the articulation in the knee at sort of the back of the knee, and they sculpt the knee down This has like it's kind of like a SH Figure Arts vibe. That's what SH Figure Arts tends to do, with sort of bigger billowy pants, and then you know, the armor bit sort of on the shin is sort of tucked in there, in a cool way. And there's a joint in there as well. Like there's a pivot in there as well. It's a bit clumsy, but you know, they did a good job. I mean, I'm pretty impressed with this guy. I'm kind of bummed that it took me so long to open this figure, because it looks really good. But anyway, let me get this guy geared up, because I think this guy geared up is going to look pretty cool, actually. His pack definitely plugs in better than the translucent figure did. Now, is this removable? All right, so the little rocket is removable. It's not the same pack. I sort of thought maybe they were the same pack, but they're not. They're different. There's definitely some design cues that are repeated there. So clearly the Mandalorians, you know, have different jet packs, but it's sort of like you pick style A or style B. The little thrusters are adjustable, and I presume that that's sort of a similar port size to what we see with other Hasbro figures. So again, I wish I'd thought of it, but I wonder if the blast effects that we've gotten with some other lines would fit in there to give him sort of a blasted off look, or blasting off look, or whatever. His little laser pistol will go in the sheath there. Now, for me, the real test for a well, that's not. Oh no, they stretch. There's these little like hoses that are on the back of the arm, that when you bend the arm, it's definitely going to max out how far they'll stretch, but you can kind of, you know, guide them over the elbow. There's that sort of classic Boba Fett position where he stands with his blaster, and I really want to see if he can hit that pose. And now my brain, because it never works, as soon as you do a live video, your brain stops working entirely. Oh shoot. There's nothing worse than weapons that have like that you can't just like slide them into the figure's hand. So this is going to take some navigating to sort of get in his. Oh, I was so close. I was so close. It's that trigger finger. You never get that trigger finger in there. Okay, well, I'm going to save all of you guys the extreme boredom of watching me try to do this. And I'm just going to have him hold it as though he doesn't have a trigger finger. And now I got to try to remember how he holds like the pose. He holds it just across his arm, right? No, I'm not going to be able to get it. I'm not going to be able to get it. He's not going to be able to hold it in that pose. And his backpack's going to fall off. Ay. Black Series, you're killing me. I guess this is why they do like Mafex and SH Figure Arts versions of these, so that you can actually hit the poses that you want them to. Now let's just put his helmet on and be done with it. And thankfully that helmet doesn't look too ridiculously big. I mean, he looks ridiculous. He looks ridiculous. Allison says some of us were over on Radical Toys, the other Adam from Canada. He's from the other side of Canada too. He's quite a ways away. All right, I got Fennec Shan too. Should I open this? Like, why not? Let's just bang out one more and then we'll call it a night. Why don't I bump the camera first too? Jeez. So unprofessional. What you guys can't see is the off screen. I'm trying to open this box. And my shaky hands are not letting me do it. All right, Fennec Shand. Again, this is a figure that I bought day one because it's a cool character and because this fits in my Black Series collecting rule of appeared in The Mandalorian. And then on top of that, when there's a badass woman in Star Wars or G.I. Joe or whatever, I will buy the figure of that because there aren't enough of them. Sculpt-wise, there's a lot of texture going on here. Like top to bottom, this whole thing is just covered in texture. You know, not a lot of paint apps going on here. You know, there's just hits of the orange, but they look really, really good. It's a pretty good likeness too. I mean, it's little, how do I say it? She looks a little younger and a little more Caucasian than Ming-Na Wen looks, but it's pretty good. Pretty good. I'm not complaining. Now, again, well, this one's not as bad. A big old rifle, you know, the sort of sniper rifle that she has in the show. A pre-molded strap, which is not ideal, but so it probably fits over her shoulder very well. There's no way I'm getting this in her teeny tiny little hand, though. I will be shocked if I can pull this off. This is like, yeah, it's not happening. Not happening. Over the shoulder it is. Although, because of that molded strap, it does sit very well. It sits exactly how you would want it to sit. The helmet is cool too. I mean, I am an absolute sucker for like removable helmets, and yeah, you can get it to sit pretty well. I think this one needs a little bit of heat because I think it's been in the package too long. But you can more or less get this to sit where it should on her head. This one, because it's been in the package too long, I think the sort of the split has like closed itself up. But you can, I mean, I'll be able to sort of fix that. I can fix that in post. So there she is. She's considerably smaller than Boba Fett. I don't remember. I mean, maybe I just didn't notice. Is she that much shorter than Boba Fett? Is that like? Is that canon? As my very good friend Dan Larson would say, is it canon? I don't know. I'm not that guy. I found out today watching somebody else's show that there's a canonical sort of standard length for lightsabers of 36 inches, which was news to me. I didn't know that. I didn't know that anybody knew that. I didn't know that canonically there was like a standard length. But anyway, so there you go. Listen, everything is canon if you believe. That's exactly what I always say. Headcanon is relevant. What's the expression? Perception is reality. So, your headcanon is correct for you. Now, it doesn't mean that you have grounds to complain and say that, something should have been done differently because it's not how you would do it. You're just being a brat and throwing a tantrum because you're not in charge of that particular IP. Anyways, Toy Connections has joined. He says, yes, she is. Is it canon? Yes. So it is canon, apparently, which is cool. I'm happy to add these to my collection. I'm running out of Mandalorian figures to buy, which is good news for me because, to be perfectly honest, as I said, Black Series is not a series of figures that I was like super into. My rules had to be expanded because my rule was, Mandalorian figures and then versions of Luke Skywalker. I have, of course, as I've, mentioned before, have expanded that to anything that happened on Endor as well. So now there's a few more figures that I can still pick up if I sort of ever get around to it and I can ever afford it again. But the Endor Leia, like the Endor Trooper sort of Leia with the soft goods, the Endor Han, I still need. And then there's a third Ewok, Tebow. I think it's Tebow that I would like to pick up. But then I'm kind of, that's kind of it again. So Black Series for me has to have like cool little gimmicky things, like this guy to pique my interest, or offer something that I never knew that I needed. But yeah, other than that, Black Series just isn't. It's not my thing. It's just not my thing. The figures are cool, and I love Star Wars. But I don't need Star Wars figures when there's, Cyberzoic stuff that I don't have. Allison says, once I hit 40, my canon is the only canon for fictional worlds, no matter what man babies on the internet say. Yeah. Allison says, Endor Poncho Black Series Leia is top tier Leia figure. That I don't need the encouragement, Allison. I do not need to hear that. I was already probably going to get her, but now I'm even more inclined to pick up that figure sooner rather than later. So, Toy says, I'm going to throw my logo on a shirt that says "Man Baby." Will it be a picture of you and it says "Man Baby"? That's the real question. Anyway. Anyway, that's the. I was gonna do the Holocomm figure. I did the Holocomm figure. He looks cool. Like I said, if you're into the Holocomm stuff, great. If not, don't buy it. It's cool enough. Like I said, it's not perfect, but it's pretty much what I expected. Allison Troy says, both Endor themed Leias are my favorite Black Series Leias by far. I actually have the Ewok Village Leia, and it's a fantastic figure. I love it, and I got that one to go with my Ewoks, and then that is why I want to get more Endor figures. Toy Connections Holocomm looks cool. It is. I mean, it is for what it is. It's cool. It's not groundbreaking. It's nothing. It is not smaller. I was saying that I'm pretty sure this is the same sculpt as the newest version, but I'm not 100% certain because I didn't get the newest version. It looks a little bit thinner than the first version of the Madalorian that we got, but I don't think that they created a new mold for this figure. It's he's on the it's on the Holopuck, but it's it's just a standard size 6-inch Black Series figure. And it's and like I said, it's pretty cool. You get the wanted thing with the 20,000 credit bounty. I think honestly, Mandalorian was probably like, you could justify a bigger bounty for that, but that's just me. But anyways, I think 45-ish minutes is probably as far as I need to go for this guy. As I always say, it is a pleasure to hang out with you guys and chat while I open the toys. And you know, it's always more fun to open toys with friends. Head seems smaller but same height. Oh, you're comparing it to Boba Fett. It's not Boba Fett. This is the Mandalorian. Anyways, it's been an absolute pleasure. It's always more fun to open toys with friends, which I already said. Hopefully, you guys can join me again next week. I don't know what I'm opening next week, so stay tuned for that. But until next time, bye-bye.